Melinda's Enchanted Cottage here live with our MEC Witches Social. Just letting the computer catch up. It says we're live. I'm not doing this by myself today. Don't worry, Melinda will be joining us. She's just following up with a customer right now. She'll be right with you. So log in, sit down, grab your coffee, and let's hang out for a few minutes as we're waiting for Melinda. As I mentioned, our 2 o'clock MEC Witches Social is starting up with our live feed here. I see there's a few people logged in already, 5 people. My goodness, it just jumped. So bear with us. As I mentioned, Melinda is just finishing up with a customer. On a kind of related note, actually, this customer was somebody who's logged into one of our posts earlier, and I did overhear part of the conversation there was really about having taken some of the advice we provided yesterday in our Witches Social about the freedom to be able to say no thank you to psychic and energetic vampires. The first step in taking responsibility for yourself is recognizing what you can and can't do. Just popped into my mind one of my favorite episodes of The Office, that weird quirky show where it doesn't actually tell you what's funny. You have to figure it out for yourself, which is why I love that show so much. There was a scene where they were planning a party, and the one lady in the party planning committee always felt the burdens of the tasks that were put on her, and she held up a handful of sticky notes. Where's the camera? There it is. Handful of sticky notes, and said, "This is a reasonable amount of expectation. Everything else needs to fall to somebody else." And that's part of taking your personal power. I'm just filling in while you were filling in. Talking with a customer there.
Stuff, so it's like 2:01, and you guys are like right at it here, like boom.
I don't want people to not be, they're like, 2 o'clock, they're not on. It must not be happening. So.
No, that's right. Yeah, or we're just sitting here like waiting. Crickets.
What's going on? Is anybody logged in?
So I'm here. Let the party get started.
Perfect. I'm just going to open up the comment board here if it hasn't already happened.
Because I can't see things.
Oh, yes. Here, Reggie's on.
Reggie's
Hi.
on. Charmaine's
Happy
on.
Friday.
Linda, hi. Pat, yes, you're here. And
Kim's
great.
on today. Actually not working today. Not working.
Not working.
Yeah, Samantha. Good afternoon, Samantha.
Hey, yeah, Elizabeth is on.
Yep.
Michelle and
Kim gets notifications every time you go live. So bathroom break for about an hour and a half, and then you're following us, right?
Since these are an hour, who takes us into the bathroom with them?
Oh. Okay, that's a conversation we can have.
Just curious. Well, I mean, we did socks the other day,
right.
So feet. I think I posted a picture of my feet today, too.
I'm going to put your phone number up again, 226-931.
You know what? I got to scooch out and grab it because I was just with a customer. So
I think it's right there. Nope, it's not. Okay, 931-1419. There we are. I'm going to post that, and I will pin it to the top. At any time during this Witches Social, if you want to call in and say hi, and we'll put you on speakerphone close to the microphone. We would suggest, however, if you are listening to us live at the same time, maybe turn that down just so that there isn't that delay, that lag. Hey, from Buffalo, Julie Andrews. Welcome from Buffalo. We've had people logging in from far and wide. Lovely young lady Daphne joined us from New Zealand yesterday, and that was pretty cool.
That was pretty awesome.
Yeah, we're going to have to pop over there sometime and say hello to her in person, right?
Oh, okay.
To New Zealand? Why not? We'll just stop by and say hello.
Put it on my list of travels.
Yeah, we have the Scooby Gang, obviously some people who recognize their friends that normally hang out here in the shop. Kim commenting to Pat and that. So that's pretty awesome. Somebody calling from Hamilton? Is that somebody calling in?
I don't know. Hello?
That could just be a customer. This is, it's just a customer. So, Andrew, hi. Good to see you, buddy. Not doing much of anything right now, just kind of sitting around, hanging out. We're hoping that you're getting a lot of benefit from some of these chats. As you've been coming into the shop and getting to know us a little bit, I'm sure that this is kind of touching on a lot of questions and thoughts and ideas that you've been working through yourself. So we're really grateful that you can join us on these. And for everybody who can't join in at 2 o'clock, I know they're catching up later. Melinda does make it a point to log in all the time and catch up on comments that were made afterwards, or comments that are taking place here that we just didn't have a chance to address in our conversation. Rebecca, hi. Jennifer, hi. Teddy, hi. Yeah, Graham, hi. I'm here for a bit. That's awesome. Every little chance we have to visit with you, that's great. So we have a specific topic in mind today. As you do know, we do like to bring a theme to the table. We like to start it off with a really good discussion of some sort, and then allow you guys the opportunity to weigh in as we go or at the end. If you have any comments about things that we have posted on already and how it has influenced you, how it's changed you, maybe things that you've tried that didn't work, we might be able to give you some tips and suggestions about that. Anything that really jumps out, by all means, put it in there. Holly's adopted a used bookstore in a massive basement, now surrounded by thousands of books. Talk about grounding. Well, yeah, that's pretty awesome. Now it's just tweaking my jealousy at the moment. Anything that's really fantastic, be sure to fill me in on and let me know. How did you adopt a used bookstore? Are we talking the one in Waterford? Would that be the one? I used to go there all the time. And sorry, I'm just scrolling up. I somehow did not manage to pin. There we are.
I'm back.
Should be pinned at the bottom. Yep, here we go. Holly just mentioned that she adopted a used bookstore in a massive basement, and she's now there surrounded by thousands of books. The only one that makes sense to me is the Waterford bookstore.
Well,
I
don't know.
Could be wrong, but
That's
yeah, I did
awesome.
ask her, so we'll see.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's actually pretty cool. We'll try and keep that in the back of our mind when we get into
That's the
tools.
one.
That's the one.
Yeah.
Awesome. I can actually, wow, it just conjured up a smell. I know what that place smells like.
Okay, so I'm like completely lost here. I have no idea what you guys.
Yeah, basically, I just reiterated that they're welcome to call in and share some of their experiences of things relevant to what we've talked about so far, things that maybe they've tried that didn't quite work. We can maybe give some advice and some suggestions to help them move forward with some ideas. We are obviously looking at a few different conversations, a few different ideas in the past there, so you might have to fill us in on specifically what it was. But today specifically, we're going to be talking about grounding. It's a big one, only in as much that it's a often misused term or
Tool. Yeah.
a tool, a technique. It's a buzzword. Let's be honest. It's a very popular buzzword that's picked up very quickly, very easily
Kinda
by
like-
people in the craft.
Yep, kind of like what we said yesterday with the whole word banishing, or you hear binding or something like
Yep.
that. Very much buzzwords for people new to the craft. So
Yeah.
I think today we just want to explore what exactly grounding is and our personal take, our unique take on what grounding is. And it might be the same as yours, it might differ from yours. Again, these are all just like thoughts, opinions
Sure.
that we like to share, maybe different unique ideas that you can take from and utilize in your own fashion, because that's what solitary practitioners are all about, is, you know, our own path, our own journey.
Yeah.
So
Okay, so that's what we're going to be talking about today, and we've kind of broken it down. Apparently, I Need This by Charmaine. Everybody needs it. Don't feel like
Yes.
you're unique or special. Don't feel like you're alone either, because it can be elusive and it can be very difficult to comprehend. And what we've done is we've broken it down into 4 points that we think might help you to get a grasp on what grounding is, why it's important, what we benefit from it, that sort of thing.
So before you start with the 4 points, I just want to
Okay.
remind everyone, please share your experiences, because we all know, just like yesterday or the energy vampirism session we did, we all have experiences with this. We all have things to share, and we all have things to learn from. So comments, questions, situations, we want to hear about them. If we don't get to them specifically during the live feed, I personally go through everything afterwards and comment or say hello, or, you know, thank you for joining us. I do keep up that dialogue after our live feed.
Yep.
And one other thing just to mention, if you're finding these videos, these feeds worthwhile, and you're taking a little something from each one, we just want you to share them.
Yeah.
Okay? Give everyone else the opportunity to connect with the Witches Social and have the same experience that you guys are having now. And who knows, you know, one little
Well, this is how we
step
end
at a
up in
time.
places like New Zealand and down in the States and all of that sort of thing. So we do have friends and clients and customers and family all over the place. And yeah, it's really nice to know who's coming in, who's getting interest out of our discussions
Yeah.
and how it's helping them in their lives.
So I have to mention this again before you get started, because Elizabeth just jumped on and she's like, I spent half my childhood grounded. Not sure if that's the same grounding we're talking about, but maybe as a child you were like spiritual and made the most of your grounding.
Yes, but you know what? As an example, that's not completely false.
No.
What is the purpose of being grounded as a kid? It's to really
It's a
lock you down.
timeout.
It's reevaluate your purpose, your goals, where you went wrong, what you should be doing, all of that sort of thing. It's you're not too far off the scope there, as much as that was intended as a pun. You're actually kind of a little on the nose, so that's fantastic. Can I share my story from yesterday? Because I'm still kind of buzzing about that.
Okay, yeah.
Sure. It's
I have no
unrelated.
idea what he's sharing
Here we
right
go.
now.
Here's the bunny
Yeah.
trail that we always wind up on. I got to be a live shopper or a personal shopper for some customers yesterday. They were the first ones to take advantage of this. They actually pulled up and sat outside in their vehicle because the wind was cold and bitter. And they had a lovely little girl who I could hear over the phone in the background, I love you! And she was talking away in the back. But this young couple came up and they wanted to do a little shopping.
They've never been to Melinda's Enchanted Cottage, so they had really no idea what we carry or what we do here.
Yep.
So, wow, you spent like an hour.
Oh, I don't know. Was it that long?
Yeah,
It didn't feel
well,
that
I mean,
long.
you were having fun.
We had fun. But literally what they did, they pulled up. I gave them the access to the guest Wi-Fi, so they weren't using their own data. And we did a little video time, little Facebook Live. And I flipped the camera around so they weren't staring at me the whole time, because who wants that? That's not why they come into Melinda's Enchanted Cottage. But I walked them through all the way, their first steps into the cottage, what they would see first, what's around, all the things that we have to offer, the little teasers of the back room and the cottage side where all the workshops and events take place. And we just had a nice little experience together. And of course the empowerment of the little girl in the back, I love you, hi, I love you. That was just great. That's probably why I'm still buzzing. But no, they had a chance to pick up some things that they wouldn't ordinarily be allowed to do in this time, while staying safe and keeping us safe, etc. We get creative. We find solutions to the restrictions that are placed. So don't let that stop you guys from popping out and saying hi. And even if it's not necessarily about shopping, but you just want to come in, connect, and from the safety and warmth of your own vehicle, we've got a way to do that. We've stepped up our internet.
And this is one of our things as well,
Yeah,
starting the Witches Social online. So we've had to become creative during COVID, during lockdown restrictions. As much we want our business to keep running, we still want some personal connection with like-minded people. It keeps us from going stir crazy. So,
ironically, we have actually benefited a great deal from this. As much as we are providing you with the insights, we're providing you with our own experiences and tips. There is a very very personal experience that happens every day when we have our discussion about what we're going to talk about. Clearly, we don't just pull this out of our butts here. We do give it a little consideration. But what you don't know is the ways that it's influenced and changed my perception. And I think, well,
we just
probably
said that
not
this
so
morning.
much yours, but how I perceive it. You have a different awareness on how it's important to other people.
But in the same idea, I get to hear your thoughts on it and your experiences. So with running the business, with running Melinda's Enchanted Cottage, we are all business. We don't get very much time to just be spiritual and converse about things. So our morning coffee, our morning tea to talk about the Witches Social has become greatly appreciated in a connection, a spiritual connection between Jeremy and I. So I that's why I enjoy this.
It's been very beneficial. The funny little epiphanies that you'd think I'd understand now, sometimes they don't come until late. I'm slow to figure these things out. So it's been it's been interesting. It's been a lot of learning for me, in as much that I'm relating it to people for the first time. Sometimes I just go, wow, I didn't actually realize that that's why it's important to me, or what takes place when I do this, or areas where I'm weak and let my guard down or give my power away. Yeah, it's pretty cool. So thank you guys for the opportunity, because I learn and grow by doing this with you.
So Amy's asking if the Witches Social will continue after lockdown. Yes. The only thing we might have to revisit, and we should have thought about this beforehand, was that
she likes to leap without looking.
Yes, I do.
Yep.
But it's at 2:00 in the afternoon. So if we are open for business, one of us has to miss out on the Witches Social because we're running the store.
Sure.
So we may have to change the hours of the live feed so that both of us can participate, because I like doing it.
Yeah.
And I like doing it with you. I wouldn't want to do this without, I mean, the two of us is fantastic. So I don't want to do this individually. I want both of us to be a part of this.
Right. And the challenge is, if you do have to leave, or one of us has to leave to go take care of a customer, when we come back, we're like putting our heads back in the game, and then we're not quite sure where the other person's at, what has or hasn't been discussed. So we kind of give you the guys the priority, the top priority, and we're allowed to do that now because our store is much quieter.
Yes.
And obviously our customers are getting the idea too. Oh, don't interrupt between 2 and 3 because they're busy doing a live feed. And yeah, that literally has been said. You'll have to come back at 3:00.
So we just might have to do it later
We'll figure something out
through the day, but we'll let you guys know. Lockdown's not ending for another 5 days, if it does end in those 5 days.
Kim says close the store for an hour each afternoon. We should take a personal siesta between 2 and 3. You know what? We don't necessarily have the luxury to do that. I'll just
Witches Social in progress.
Yeah. Another reason for that is because we have people coming from far and wide. It's not unheard of for people to travel excessively more than 3 hours even.
Yes.
To come and see this. I'd feel really bad if they got here and the door was locked.
They don't like locked doors.
Right. We're pretty clear about our hours, and I would hate for somebody to not see that we are closed between that time. Not that there aren't things that they can't do in Simcoe, but again, it's all about keeping our customers happy.
They come for us.
They do.
They don't come for what's in Simcoe.
Yeah.
They come for Melinda's Enchanted Cottage.
But I guess once lockdown's open, they're welcome to come in and join us for the Witches Social.
Sure,
we'll figure something out. Don't worry. We won't leave you guys all hanging.
Okay, so for you have 4 points, you said?
I do.
4 grounding points that we want to get to.
Yep.
I'll let you start with that. Again, you guys have questions asked. You guys have comments or situations you want to share. Just let us know.
Yeah. Okay. So four thoughts about grounding. Number 1 is, what is grounding? We're going to discuss that. We're going to break it down. We're going to get through the buzzword, and we're going to get to the meat and potatoes, the reality of what grounding is.
This is our perception of what grounding is. Please share yours.
Yep. Number 2, reasons and purposes for grounding. Well, why? Just because you know about it doesn't mean that you have a reason for it. You do, and we're going to share what those could be.
Yes.
Mistakes and misconceptions around grounding. That's going to be an important topic. And then lastly, the 4th one are tools and techniques of grounding, things that you can use, practices that you can embrace that are going to help you ground and connect, and why that's important.
So you used the word mistake. I'm good with that.
Okay.
We all make mistakes.
Sure.
And I don't want you guys to see that as a failure. Okay?
Yep.
It's part of the journey. It's part of the practice. It's part of growing.
It is important to be able to learn and evolve from our mistakes, and part of that means that you have to accept the responsibility for mistakes that you've made. We've already talked about that in previous socials as well.
Yeah.
Part of not being an energetic vampire is owning up to your problems, your pasts, your things like that. So don't look at it as a negative way. Look at it as saying that's a way I now recognize I didn't do it right, or properly, or effectively, or efficiently, etc. Life lessons, very much so.
Yeah. And Pat, I would love the whole babysitting of the store. That would be awesome. My kids suck sometimes. And
they want compensation.
They want us to pay them. My kids, yeah.
As if feeding them and providing a roof over their head isn't enough.
Providing them with internet. Oh my goodness.
It's the big fight right now. There's too many people all trying to shove through the same tiny bandwidth. So that's something we're looking to rectify. But there again, it comes at an increased cost and considerable amount of time on our part to set this all up, and the struggle here is combating the idea that they are entitled to this in some way.
Yes, we've had some lengthy discussions about entitlements and princesses.
You owe me better internet than what we currently have.
I owe you nothing.
I owe you nothing. Every breath you take is a gift from me.
Literally.
Keep it up and I will take that away.
Oh gosh, good
boy.
thing our kids don't jump on here and watch this.
Yeah. Okay, number one.
Number 1.
What is grounding? You think it would be fairly clear, but it's not. And we really kind of narrowed it down As we discussed it, I mean, we have a fairly comprehensive idea ourselves on what grounding is, but we've never actually put it together into a phrase that might make sense for you. So, releasing everything to connect with life force energy, which is all around us. That is the brass tacks of what grounding is. Releasing everything in order to connect with the life force energy that is all around you. Okay, so it's not, grounding isn't tapping into our aura. It's not tapping into the concept. Well, it's not exclusively the concept,
Yes.
as above, so below. These are not the things that we're talking about when we're talking about grounding. It's simply recognizing that there is something bigger than us.
It's bigger.
Yep.
And you have the potential to tap into something that's much bigger than just the energy that surrounds you.
And that can be an overwhelming concept. And actually, while we were talking about it, I got overwhelmed, even
Yeah,
myself.
sorry.
And I'm like, you know what? We have to keep this simple. Not because our people, our friends, our family can't keep up with this, but because we kind of allot an hour to do this. And I'm afraid that if we jump down that concept, it will become way too intimidating for a lot of people, and we'll have lost some of the interest and attention because we've just taken it to some deep, scary place. The potential is there for that, absolutely. Think about the cosmos. We are not alone in this world. We are not the only planet in existence. There are other planets, other galaxies, way more than we are. And when we can recognize that in one hand we can be microscopically minuscule and insignificant, while at the same time vastly powerful, that is essentially what grounding is being in that place where you're both insignificant and powerful at the same time. And that's pretty much all that we really need to do to address the topic of what grounding is all about, is getting into that place.
So when we started this conversation this morning, most of you know that I've been at this for a very long time. So I'm unique into the way that I practice. Sometimes I forget not everyone is on the same comprehension as me, and I complicate things by getting excited and wanting to tell you everything and show you everything and make your life that much better through these techniques. Jeremy sometimes has to rein me in a little, and that's what happened this morning. Is
Sure.
I have a different view on life force energy than the majority of people, and I need to keep it at a level that doesn't overwhelm you.
Yeah, there's the tendency for the mind to get blown, and it's not that I can't keep up sometimes. I'll be honest. I think I do a really good job of keeping up, but every once in a while I get so lost in the realization that I've forgotten the simple essentials of what it really is that we all have the freedom and the privilege and the right to be able to do this, and
To
this is
tap
really
into
what
this.
we want to bring to you guys today.
Jeremy actually had an epiphany this morning when we were talking, and I watched his little face.
Yep.
And it was like, oh my God, mind blown. And he starts scratching things down, and I just recognized in that moment that he just grew as an individual.
Sure.
Just from a simple conversation we were having, and I pointed a few different things out, and he grew from that moment. So
I hope you remember what it was.
yeah, you wrote it at
I
the
think I
top
did.
of your page.
Yeah, it was in here. I'll
Yeah.
know it when I see it again.
We'll get back to it.
Yep.
But yeah, it was for me, I love seeing that stuff. It's why we do the MEC fundamental group. It's why I love talking to people in the retail shop, because I love watching their faces as they grow and experience new things.
So what Melinda does in an abstract, intuitive, instinctive way, myself, and I'm sure a lot of other people would also claim this, right? We have to work through it in a logical, comprehensive way, and that can be very frustrating, especially if we can't grasp it. I would say probably 90% of our discussions and dialogues and, dare I say, disagreements come from the fact where it's like, what don't you get about this? And I'm like, I just can't get from A to B without something in between. And that's where the struggle comes, is I have to work through the mental process. One of like a long time ago, I had an epiphany, a great example of that mental process coming to light for me in a visual way, which we think might benefit you guys in the discussion of grounding today, and it's the iceberg analogy.
Yes. The aha moments, I just want to mention that, Elizabeth, the
Yes.
aha moments. It's one of my other favorite little phrases. We had aha moments. Sharon's joined
here.
us now.
Hi.
Nice to see you. Hi, Sharon.
Yeah, so if you've been to our MECs or our workshops before, then you'll know that I've probably shared this story, and it's probably, if you're hearing it today, just consider that to be a reminder that you need to always keep this in the forefront of your brain. I love examples all the time. It helps me visually follow a train of thought or an organized system to allow me to work through these thought processes, these aha moments. And for me, it really came down to realms of consciousness, the awareness that we have, and the visual cue for me was that of an iceberg. So yeah, for all you MEC members out there, I'm gonna go down this trail again. We're gonna have this discussion one more time because it is constant reminder of what is going on around us.
But he's going to be applying grounding to it.
Yes.
So when we've discussed it in workshops in our MEC program, we're always talking about it from a conscious awareness,
energy,
subconscious energy, and usually a divination point of view aspect.
Sure.
So today he's going to come at it from a grounding perspective. So despite the fact that you've heard this story before, this analogy, pay attention because it's worth it.
It pertains to the energy around grounding as well.
It pertains to today's topic, yes.
So if you can picture in your mind an iceberg floating in the water, it's that little tip that's floating along. It's huge, it's vast. I mean, by comparison
the
to
Titanic running. No.
Yeah, we've all got these images in our head for icebergs. If we relate that tip of the iceberg to our conscious mind, it is the part of us that's self-aware, the part of us that's paying attention to, in my case, staying on point with what we're discussing, the topics at hand, the comments that are coming up on the feed.
Yep.
My conscious mind is paying attention to all of that stuff, but it is not the entire scope of the iceberg. Underneath the surface of that tip of the iceberg is the subconscious mind, the subconscious energy, and that is the parts of my body, my presence, that are working to keep my heart beating, taking breaths in between so that I don't have to focus on it. It's picking up on so many little things, the waterfall running in the background, the smell of the incense behind me, the color of the vehicle that just drove past because I can see the reflection in the mirror over there as well as of the corner of my eye over here. All of those things my subconscious is filtering out. I'm not consciously paying attention to it, but somewhere deep inside that all is taking place.
And it's a much larger space than our conscious mind.
If you've ever seen pictures of an iceberg above and below, you do know that the mass of the iceberg is actually below the surface. So the funny thing is, in our conscious mind, we think our conscious energy is the greatest aspect of who we are, but it's just a minuscule part. I would say in some cases probably a lot smaller than others, but nevertheless, it's only a part of your consciousness, your awareness, your energy. And the subconscious below the surface makes up a greater mass. But guess what? That's not all there is. That's not all there is to it. So we have our conscious mind, our subconscious mind. There's also our global consciousness, because the iceberg is floating in a body of water. It's floating in the ocean, the area all around it, and you are not the only iceberg in this body of water. And at all points, that energy is kind of fusing in and out, ebb and flow, the water drifting from that iceberg to my iceberg to that iceberg over there. We are all connected through the collective unconscious, or
so
the
like their
subconscious
energy.
Their energy.
Where we talk about energy goes out 60 feet. So you're not just discussing your aura, your own personal energy, but we're talking now globally 60 feet away from you, you're tapping into all other life force energy.
Yeah, it's all connected. It's all a part of it. And we're not just talking about the energy in your house and the family and maybe your connection with your loved ones and maybe even remotely distantly with ties that I have with people in England or close friends in other parts of the world, which do knit us together. But globally with people that we've never met before, all that energy is muddled together, and we have the capacity, the comprehensive possibility of connecting consciously with this type of energy. It's not easy, it's not intuitive, but when we ground, we suddenly become very aware of how much we are just a part of a bigger picture. And that's not it. That's not where it ends either.
It doesn't stop there.
No, it doesn't stop there.
Most people don't even get to that point.
I'd say a lot of people don't even get into their subconscious
Yes.
connection.
So now
Yeah.
we're moving past the global awareness into what?
The God consciousness, I believe, would be a great way of exempling this. It is for the purpose of the analogy, for the imagery that we're representing, it's the sky. It's everything above. So if we look at our world, our iceberg tip, our iceberg water, or the bottom, the base, the water that it's floating in, the thing that's tying it all together is the sky, the cosmos, everything beyond that. And that's all within our realm of conscious awareness. If we can tap into it, if we can ground, if we can connect. Making you at one point extremely insignificant, but at the same time very powerful when you recognize what you can do in this state of awareness.
Yes.
Right?
Magic.
So, for the purpose of the illustration, as our iceberg evolves and melts and,
Be right back.
and evaporates. Yep. Hello. Sorry, we just got a parcel pop up here.
How's it going?
It's good. How are you doing?
We'll just give it a second here.
Can I get a last name from you?
It's Passmore. Thank you. See ya.
Thank you. More packages. Whoop whoop.
Hi, I'm a busy girl
Yeah,
today.
just running off your pins.
I'm a busy girl. That
Okay,
was
so-
an order, by the way, guys. So new products.
More stuff coming in.
in.
Yes, so where were we? Collective unconsciousness, God consciousness.
Yeah.
So in the realm of this, as the iceberg melts, the water evaporates around us, the precipitation goes into the air through steam, through evaporation, then falls back down. It's all connected. It's all one tangled web of energy. Crowley, one of my favorite Crowley quotes, where he says, "There is not one thing that isn't affected by everything. Everything relies on everything around it for its own energy, for its life force." We are all connected. And when we ground, we tap into that sense of awareness. And that is essentially what it's really all about.
We want to ground and tap into that.
We do.
Yes.
Now, why? I guess that is the imperative question. Why? Is this important? So we've tackled what grounding is. That was the first part of the conversation today. The next part is moving into the reasons and purposes for grounding. Why we would do this, why this is important and critical. There are two motivations for grounding. Let's look at it very simply. We're going to break it down to the two simple points behind why we ground. One, too much energy.
Yes. Too
much
much
energy.
energy.
You're like a squirrel with ADHD.
So you
Just
need a release.
You're just buzzing all over the place. We ground to release that energy.
Yep.
Or, alternatively, we ground because
we need.
there's not enough energy.
There's not enough. You're depleted. There's not
Yep.
enough energy there.
Yep. If we look at it as the energy of life is what feeds us, and we have too much or not enough of it, we're either malnourished or stuffed and lethargic, or that kinetic energy is not serving us well. Grounding helps to moderate and neutralize the energy. Gives us balance.
Well, we are just vessels of energy. So
Yep.
you have to balance that out.
The epiphany that I had, I guess, was how can we work and manipulate and direct and channel energy if we don't truly know what energy is? Grounding allows us a connection to this energy. Without truthful understanding, our magic is simply wishful thinking and hopes and dreams. So we talk a lot, you hear this all the time, about the power of intention being the root of magic. Intention is great. Intention is fantastic. It is the essence of what magic is. But if you aren't properly grounded and stable with your energy, then you're only wishing, you're only hoping, and that's only part of the package. If you are a true magician, a true master of working and manipulating and channeling and directing energy, it comes from a place of somebody who knows and understands what that energy is.
You need a vehicle for those thoughts and ideas to manifest into something.
Yeah.
So you need the energy that's out there to move your thoughts and ideas.
Yep. Otherwise, you're just, oh boy, I sure hope this works, or it's my plan for this to come into my life. But you're not actually pushing the energy. You're just putting the thoughts out there. And in some cases, that's more than sufficient. That's more than enough. But I would argue in most cases, it requires a little more effort than that. And the difference between somebody who has hopes and dreams versus somebody who actualizes those hopes and dreams, it comes down to action. And that action only really truly takes place if we're in a stable, grounded place where we can move that energy.
Well, and utilizing the potential of that energy.
Yep. Yep. So basically that is the root of why we would work from grounding,
Yep.
working grounding, etc.
Well, it's the idea behind magic in general.
Yep.
When people come into the shop and kind of giggle about witches doing magic, this is what magic is. It's recognizing the potential of the energy around you to make change within your life.
Mm-hmm.
And we do that through connecting to life force energy.
It's pure. It's essential. It works. It doesn't have to be overly complicated or complex. We do tend to make it more complicated than it is. And I would say even worse are people who make it something
Showy.
it isn't. And that would be probably, this is now moving into and following the ideas and theories of mistakes and misconceptions.
Yes.
And if you feel you have to make an elaborate show
Broadcast.
about your ability to ground and to connect with the divine,
or why you're doing it.
why you're doing
right?
it, we see this
We see it a lot.
frequently as well.
Yes.
And no criticisms to the people who are doing it. We just encourage them to actually truthfully find this rather than make a big scene about doing it.
So can I share something
Oh, yeah, we're
with
all about
everyone?
examples.
All about examples, sharing. Perfect story I have for this. I was invited to do a spiritual cleanse through a sweat lodge. Not sure if everyone's familiar with that. But you go in, it's a native culture. I'm not 100% familiar with it. I enjoyed the experience greatly after a certain point. But it was a bunch of women at a sweat lodge, and we were basically trying to cleanse and release anything that we had been struggling with, or in my case, I was more so manifesting, using that time and that connection to manifest things and desires that I wanted. So during the moment, I was very excited leading up to it, going into it. It was a great experience. Then we got about 5 minutes into the actual cleansing portion. So we're all enclosed in this tiny little hut. You have to lay down because there's not a lot of room to like sit at all. So you have to lay down. You're right side by side, squished in with people. And this woman starts screaming and bawling and blubbering, like to excessive amounts. It was disturbing. It was crazy.
Wasn't truthful.
It was not truthful. I understand people do have traumatic experiences, and sometimes releasing those experiences can be emotional, but hers was very much a showy, emotional, look at me, everyone coddle me, snuggle me, praise me while I go through this.
Psychic vampirism.
Psychic
basically.
vampirism at
Yep.
its best.
Yep.
And I was so upset and so angry in the moment because I was actually enjoying my experience until this happened. And she did this for an hour. Like, it was an hour, and I finally crawled out of the hut and said, I just can't. I can't participate in this anymore unless she tones it down a little bit, right? So the funny thing is this was not her first sweat lodge that she'd participated in. They hosted them every full moon, once a month. She had been to the last 5, okay? 5 of them. And she still reacted the same way with the screaming. She was screaming at the top of her lungs and bawling and snot everywhere. And after 5 people, you need to go see therapy. You don't need a sweat lodge anymore. You need therapy.
If there were a true experience there for her, she would have
Yes.
found that grounded connectedness that she was looking for.
Exactly.
Or if it wasn't working, you would go and look for it somewhere else, I would suggest. I wasn't there. Obviously, I can't weigh in on that, but I do remember her discussion about this and how that was very much an elaborate show. Now, we've got our own personal experiences here in the shop. We can draw examples aplenty over people's dramatic ways of showing how spiritual they are through their techniques and abilities to ground and that. And I can't say whether they are or aren't true. However, I think that the wisdom here, the truth behind it, is that it doesn't have to be elaborate.
No.
You don't have to have a process or a ritual. If that helps you, by all means, go for it. But it is, I would argue, a very intimate, personal experience. And unless you're working with a group of very like-minded individuals, the showy aspects really detract from the secret of what it really is all about. It's not elaborate. I'd like
Just want
to
you to-
address that
yes.
one.
Yeah, before it scoops away.
we have a comment here. I can feel certain energies more than 60 feet away, especially if it's negative, and then I feel so emotionally exhausted by the end of the day. Is there some strategies I can do to help ground myself after that? I find it so easy to be consumed. This is essentially what we have been
Yes.
discussing throughout all of these. If you're just joining us today, your first time in, because the name doesn't jump out at me, I don't recognize you. Welcome if it's a first time in. But do go back through our other Witches socials. We do address this kind of idea in detail in some of the other ones. Psychic vampirism, holding your own personal energy, the power of yourself, all
The
of that.
the healing one was pretty good. And then even at the end of today's session,
You'll have
like
a
our
better
last
idea.
part, we do give out some tools and some ways to keep you grounded. Quick little ones for in the moment, or ceremonial ritual ones
Absolutely.
for a longer period of time. So either hang out with us, stay with us till the end, and then maybe revisit some of our old Witches socials. We've only done like 7 of them, but they've all been really based on energy itself.
That's the root of magic, really.
It is. It's the
what
root
we're
of
made
magic.
of. Why wouldn't it be? The purpose behind this life is really about the energy.
Yeah, and snot everywhere. Yeah. Yeah, I couldn't think of a more polite way to put that. So, yeah.
So, under the category of the mistakes and misconceptions of grounding, anything that muddles the act of grounding with an ulterior motive.
Yes, an agenda.
An agenda
Yes.
of any kind, anything outside of the purpose than being connected. So, let's take this on a very logical. A lot of people bring a motive to being grounded. I need to ground for this purpose. I need to ground for connecting with spirits. I need to work this magic, so I'm going to ground first. There's nothing wrong instinctively
No.
with that, but a lot of times there's a quid pro quo scenario that plays out with grounding. I'm going to ground to do this. I'm going to give in this area so that I can get in this area, and I think that muddles the pure energy of grounding in general.
So you're not just grounding to connect to life force energy, or to connect to the universe or something bigger, or just to experience the magic. You're grounding with an alternative motive in there. So I just want you guys to see the difference. So when Jeremy and I first got together, he was journeying through Christianity as well as jumping into witchcraft, the universe, whatever you guys want to call it. So he was missing something in Christianity, and we did a talk. I put Jeremy in the hot seat and asked him a bunch of questions. So he was missing something, and he wanted to know why he was missing that, and what should he expect in witchcraft. What would he find? And I simply told him to do what?
Just connect. Just to, well, basically ground. I didn't understand
Yes, but-
exactly what it was, but just to go out and experience the universe, the goddess,
Yes.
the simple little ritual for no other purpose, no agenda.
Yep. So he collected some items I asked him to take with him.
He
which
actually
was
gave me the items.
candles. Did I give you the
Yeah,
items?
he set me up with a little care package
Little care
and said,
package.
go and do.
Go do this. He went out to a place that he enjoyed,
Sacred space of mine.
of his, and just sat there for the purpose of connecting and feeling the universe, the energy.
I let go of all my ego, I guess would be the best way to put it. I let go of all my perceptions, my awarenesses, my beliefs. I let it all go. I just laid it down. None of it mattered. And I just wanted to have a moment for the pure pleasure of exploring what it could be, what the possibility was. And the overwhelming reality just flooded over me. And the affirmation that came afterwards was pure magic. There's no way to describe it in any way that anybody else would be able to completely understand. It was very intimate. It was very genuine, real, sincere, and that was the catalyst that evolved everything for me, basically.
And sorry, Catherine.
Yep.
That's who joined us.
Yes,
Catherine. Hi,
doing virtual
Catherine.
learning. Okay, so right there was no agenda. Okay, there was a little agenda, but I didn't know what I was doing realistically. So it was very pure, very honest, very intimate. Honestly, if anybody else had been there, it wouldn't have happened, because I would have been too self-conscious, too self-aware, too worried that I was doing something, and would have missed out on what it was. And I think that was the problem throughout a lot of my faith, it doesn't matter what the spiritual assumption is or the belief is. I think a lot of times we do it out of mismanaged expectations or assumptions, or I do know this from my own walk in life too, that it was a lot of, I'm going to do this so that I can get this. It's negotiating with God, or there's always an agenda behind everything we did. And we actually had this with a friend of ours who was coming in and talking about their magic and how it was seeming very flat and stale, and it was like all that energy going out, it just wasn't working very well. And I approached the idea of, when is the last time you just sat in pure magic, pure energy? And they didn't understand what I was talking about. When's the last time you cast a spell or worked magic just for the sheer pleasure of connecting with magic, with
just to
a goddess,
be grateful.
a god, just to be grateful, just with no purpose, no agenda. It's not about money, it's not about the job, it's not about a relationship, it's not about any of those things, but just to connect with something. And they're like, I don't think I've ever done that. And I'm like, then why are you doing anything? Honestly, that is the true essence of what grounding is.
Yes.
So how, it's no surprise that you feel depleted and flat if you're not filling yourself up or nourishing yourself up with that little sense of stillness, insignificance, while being amazingly powerful. Then of course you're going to bottom out, you're going to flatline, you're going to lose the essence of what magic is.
But most people think of grounding as an agenda, right?
Yep.
They've had a rough day with lots of people around them, so they need to ground. Or they've worked a spell and they're exhausted, so they need to ground. So right there, it has an agenda attached to it. And I'm okay with that. It's a great technique, great tool to use in those moments. But when is the last time you just went out to do grounding work, to simply connect to something that is much bigger than you?
Our belief is that grounding ought to be its own separate act, own separate entity. A lot of people, a lot of our practice, we would ground before and after a ritual. But my belief is that they are step one and the only step. And then the magical act in between is the step one of the magical act. They're not all part of the package. Don't ground, do your magic work, and then ground afterwards. Don't look at it that way. They are separate entities, and I believe that that is where the purity of grounding can take place.
Yes.
Otherwise, you're going in, okay, I am grounding for the purpose of doing my magical spell. You're starting to muddle the energy a little bit. Marianne says, I agree. I think people need an explanation of what these phrases mean. It makes it so much easier to find yourself and what you need. Thank you for doing this.
That's exactly what we talked about yesterday during the banishing topic. Before we met with you guys live feed, is that there's so many buzzwords that surround spirituality and surround witchcraft and whatever spirituality you are leaning towards. There's so many buzzwords and people use them inappropriately.
Glibly.
Yeah. Without actually understanding what it is they're doing. So I know grounding is a very simple topic, but when you think of it from our perspective with a unique twist, it's not a simple topic.
It is challenging, and because the whole point of the Witches Social is that people are coming from all walks of life, all belief structures, levels of expertise, and I think that this is what Melinda gets to take out of this, is what she's always been doing for years and years instinctively. She's never had to necessarily think about it from other people's perspective. We get people in all the time that are new to this, and they're overwhelmed and intimidated by books that just talk about this, and you need to do this, and they're like, I don't even know what they're talking about. And that's kind of what we like to do.
I was there once. Most of you know the book I started with was by Margaret Adler. Yep. And way beyond my comprehension, because it had a lot of buzzwords in it, a lot of large words that I just didn't understand. And it's usually
her lifetime of experience.
It's her lifetime of experience, exactly. And people usually jump off the spiritual path because they're bogged down and overwhelmed with the terminology, with the language. So it's what we like to do here is to simplify it for people so they don't get overwhelmed and they're actually meeting their potential and utilizing the tools that are available to them without running in fear because of the big words.
Pat says here, could it be that grounding would be more of a preparing your energy so that it's not depleted? Therefore, the magic would be more of a connection to all that is.
So you can
Yes.
you can do that. Yes,
Sure.
it is definitely one of the steps we're talking about. But Pat, because you're very familiar with us and the MEC program, have you ever just connected with the universe? Just sat there and connected with what's out there. That's what I'm getting at. So put aside spell casting, put aside divination work, because you've taken a lot of our workshops. Have you ever just sat there and connected with something that's bigger than you? It makes you feel insignificant, but then when you really, really look at it, you're so powerful because you've had that opportunity to connect.
Yep. Yeah. I look at grounding. Sorry, I look at grounding as a personal check-in at any time, to be able to allow the universe to take excess kinetic energy that is not serving me well, or fill me up with reserves of energy that I need at any given time. And it's getting out of my own head. It's letting go of my ego, thinking that it knows what it knows, and letting me come to a place where I can be enlightened, overwhelmed, emotional, stable, powerful, weak at any given time. And basically an opportunity for me to let the universe, for the essential energetic force that is this world, to let me be a part of it.
Yep.
I guess, for whatever it could be.
So
Yep.
Elizabeth just tapped in and said that, and clearing the slate of all chaos and expectations, et cetera, et cetera. Yes, but when you are connected to that higher energy realm, you do not experience chaos and expectations.
You almost, it's like you stand outside of yourself.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
You step outside of yourself, and I've had this before where I'm kind of an observer of everything that is me. And sometimes it's embarrassing. Sometimes it's a moment of pride and elation. It's sort of different on an emotional level every time, but when I come back to that, it's just a sense of being very much a part of the mechanisms of this world. We're getting some nice examples here
Yes.
of people and their grounding experience. Melissa commented on feeling grounded when she's by the water,
Yep.
by the walking through a forest, and we'll share how that is one of the tools and tips that you can use for grounding. And Sharon's confirming as well, when she goes camping, hiking, finding a spot and just sitting and enjoying is a very powerful way to ground as
Perfect.
well. So you get it, you know what we're talking about, and we would encourage you guys to do this. Now, it's not exclusive. It's not like these are the only opportunities you have to be able to do this, but they are naturally, instinctively, strong places and strong areas to do that. So if it helps you to understand what that feeling is, by all means do it, but it's in no way do you have to have that in order to ground and connect. If you can picture it, you can do it. If you can remember what it feels like to be there, you can mentally and emotionally be there and still have that.
I love these comments.
Yep.
And if you guys have time, if you're not
Full
seeing
moon.
all the comments, go through them, because there's some great ideas here, like the full moon. Michelle lives in Turkey Point, so definitely the beach, the water, that kind of thing there. Great use of grounding. So I'm not sure where you are. I get lost. Jeremy has a
That's
nice
why
list.
I have the master list.
I just talk. I just keep talking.
It's good, and we eventually come around to all the points. I just
Yes.
like to make sure that we have it all on paper so that we can make sure that we've covered everything that we discussed. Otherwise, we tend to ping off of one thing
Bunny
to another.
trails.
Yep. Walking on the beach in Turkey Point, connecting with the universe, that is magically profound as well. Having a fire while it snows. Having
Yes.
a fire in general is actually a very strong way. There's a reason everybody chills out with the fire, partly because they're getting smudged with the smoke, but also partly there is a very primal, essential aspect to fires. It's one of the four elements, let's face it.
Casey, I'm not sure where you are, but in Simcoe, that's where we are. It is snowing, so hopefully you're close to the area. It's got
yeah.
some flurries out there,
Yep.
so maybe a fire is in order tonight. We did an Amulk ceremony. Some of our members were there during it. It was
Yep.
last year's, and it was fire all over the place. Like, we had our fire pit, we had candles, and then it started snowing. and it was just this light dusting of snow during an outdoor Imolc ceremony. It was the most beautiful moment I've ever had celebrating Imolc. Not one of my favorite Sabbats, not one of my favorite holidays to celebrate, but boy, was it. Cool. It was beautiful. And I can't wait because February 2nd is coming up again, and we'll probably host another Imolc ceremony. Whether people can join in or not, it all depends on the COVID restrictions.
Yep.
So, but it was beautiful. Fire and a nice soft snow with lots of candles, women chanting, men chanting. It was beautiful.
See, and there you go. Another example. In those moments, as I was preparing it, as we were putting it together, in the back of my head was this self-conscious, our neighbors are gonna think we're nuts. No, I was going with the neighbors because let's be honest, we live in a nice little rural area, and everybody around us, they've all kind of got their ways, but everybody does keep an eye on everybody, right? We're all about making sure that our neighbor's house is watched and observed and safe, and it's not like we're snooping and everybody's snooping on us, but we are very much aware of everything that's going on around and making sure that it is the safe neighborhood that we like. And I thought, oh boy, we're gonna make some friends here tonight. The neighbor in the back who gets to see everything because we're slightly higher elevation than he is. The neighbor beside us probably watching from their hot tubs thinking, what are those crazy witches doing tonight? And is it going to burn our house down, etc.? But no, once we got going, we were very much outside of all of that, not concerned on a conscious level as to what the perception was, and we could feel the energy around us. It was palpable, it was pure, it was true.
What a night.
And it was fantastic, and it was cute because we were actually talking the other day about the neighbor behind us. We were kind of thinking before we even got to work, well no, like literally a couple days ago, we were talking about the neighbor behind us. He's got this odd little quirky ritual practice that he does. He walks around his backyard and he's got a series of gestures and movements, and he's always whistling this happy tune. And when we first met him, we're like, what's going on?
Is that Tourette's or
what? We're not really sure, but he's harmless. I can outrun him, so we're fine. That sort of thing. And now whenever he gets out there and he starts whistling, we're infected. We smile.
Yeah.
And his energy permeates our own, and it's positive.
It's like a Tai Chi thing he's doing, combined with gardening, combined with whistling, combined with dancing. I'm not entirely sure, but
we've only spoken with him a handful of times. But,
yes.
But there you go. He doesn't worry about how he's being perceived by us, and he just does his thing. And that's, I guess, how we should do our own thing as well. So Holly says there's a beautiful short film called Earthing that explains how physically touching the ground works in the body. It's really great to watch.
Yes.
I'm 100% with you there. I believe that's why rural areas, country folk, have an instinctive, grounded ability versus perhaps city life, where we're just disconnected. And we're going to talk about a little bit more about that in the next part, which is all about tools, techniques. One of my personal arguments is that we are bombarded by not only visual and auditory stimulation, but energetic things as well. It's a real challenge to combat Wi-Fi, cell signals, even just the energetic hum and buzz of electronics. I always encourage people who are feeling overwhelmed to try and unplug as many things as they possibly can. Tai Chi, Tourette's, same thing.
Sorry, I read it before you, and I couldn't help but giggle. Oh my God, you cracked me up.
Yep. Same thing. Yeah, I'm not sure exactly what it is.
Man, I love our witches socials.
But yeah. Okay,
where are you going next with your platform?
Okay, tools and techniques.
Tools and techniques, and we've had a lot of techniques coming out here online, so we'll reiterate those too.
They can be simple or they can be complex. There is no right or wrong. We express this all the time in magic. Whatever you like, whatever you feel. If you have to have your certain pillow, your certain space, your altar's set up just so, you've cast your circle, it doesn't matter if that's your method. My argument with that is, are you able to ground if all of those environments aren't there? And if not, then you might want to rethink the importance of all of those tools. While they can enhance, they can help, but they can also be a hindrance. If you need people can go through it through a ritual, through a meditation process, Tai Chi, walking around the backyard, waving and whistling at who self as well, and that gives me a sense of purpose and groundedness and stability throughout my day. If that's something that's important to you, a dedication
Is it our internet?
who knows, it could be any number of things, but it is